All right. So I was thinking about opening tonight with a little bit of prayer and then getting into why this study was chosen. So let's open together. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this night. I thank you for the gift of Sabbath. I thank you for bringing each and every woman here that gets to be on the call. I thank you for the ability to record it so that anyone else can listen also. Holy Spirit, I pray that you would be working how you do in this mysterious way where we can be all over the country and yet feel your presence moving amongst us as we're gathered here. I pray that you would bless this time. I pray that you would reveal things to each one of us about the space of rest and how you want to use that in our lives and how you want to speak to us. Lord, I pray that you would be speaking to us. I pray that we would have ears to hear and eyes to see what you are doing, what you want to do through us, how you want to use us. I just thank you so much for the fact that we can have this relationship with you, that we can have the freedom to seek you, to know you better, to have this space. I praise you. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so we are doing the study Breathe, Making Room for Sabbath. I don't know if, I was thinking maybe later we might go around and say the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word Sabbath, because I think probably everyone has something a little bit different. But the idea of Sabbath was something that had been rolling around in my mind for a while. And I was kind of like, every once in a while I'd have a conversation with like one of my good friends, just asking them like, what do you think about Sabbath? Like, do you know anyone that actually practices Sabbath? And then one day I was on an airplane and I actually sat next to someone that was Jewish that was practicing, and they actively practice Sabbath every week. And they had an oven that had a Sabbath mode on it so that they could do all the settings for their oven so that they wouldn't actually be working to cook dinner on the Sabbath. And I was like, this is a real thing? Like, and it is a real thing. So I've looked into it now. It's awesome. But anyway, so the idea of like actually practicing Sabbath, what that means to certain people, I was just really interested in it. And I realized that most Christians or believers today really don't practice the full idea of Sabbath or the meaning behind it. And I think COVID has kind of changed that too. For, most of us that did go to church before COVID, then we had the church at home for a while. And watching church at home got really comfortable. And I loved watching church in my pajamas, drinking coffee, and not having to do my hair, not having to get the kids ready. And that was like really easy. And then now that things have like started to open up, I've realized that there's kind of been like, I don't know, like the people that are really excited to go back to church and spend time together in that aspect. And then the people that don't really feel like it's even necessary because they kind of got used to not going to church. And there's like everything in between. And it just is so all over the place. And so I've kind of wanted to go back and just take a look, like what was Sabbath actually intended for? Like, who was it given to? Why was it even a thing? Like, why was it so important that it was included in one of the 10 Commandments? And then in the New Testament, what did Jesus do with it? Was it something that he abolished? Was it something that he followed? What did he have to say about it? I just had so many questions about the Sabbath. And one of my friends recently gave me a book that was written by a pastor that lives in Portland. His name is John Mark Comer, and he wrote The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I love this book. It has changed the way that I see a lot of things. But in it, he talks about just the pace of American life and how we have the hustle mentality and we want to get ahead. And, if you work hard enough, you can make your dreams come true. I believe all those things. And I have been in the hustle. And I'm probably still in the hustle because I tell my husband like every day, there's not enough time in the day. Like I feel like there's just not enough time. But in this book, he kind of goes through just like the history of America and how we've gotten here. And then he also talks about different spiritual disciplines that can help us slow down and make space to allow growth in our relationship with God. And I think in the different stages of our lives, the idea of spiritual disciplines can look really different. Like it can look like silence and solitude, and it can look like, one of them is practicing Sabbath and living a slower pace of life. But I also think that when you're in stages with young children, silence and solitude is a joke. Like there's no such thing. And so the idea of having like spiritual disciplines only look one way doesn't always work. And so I really appreciate hearing and seeing different views of what these spiritual disciplines can look like. But one of them that he talks about in his book was practicing Sabbath. And he is a Christian pastor that practices Sabbath. And he admits that there's not very many pastors that practice Sabbath like he does, but he goes into detail about how his family does have this whole day, and it's Saturdays for them, and they turn off their phones, and it's just a day of worship between them, God, and their families. And it's very intentional, and it's become their favorite day of the week because they know it's coming at the end of the week where they get to rest. And then that rest sets them up to be ready to take on the beginning of the week. And then by the end of the week, it's something that they're looking forward to again. And as I was reading through this book, I just was like, oh my gosh, like I want this so bad. Like I want this rest so bad. And I shared with my husband what it looked like, and he kind of laughed. He's like, babe, I can't turn off my phone. I'm on call 24/7. And I was like, all right, well, it doesn't need to look exactly like this pastor. I am the type of person that would be like making a list of all the things that this pastor does, and then making a list for us to check everything off, and like falling into like the Pharisee legalistic side of everything, which is like something Jesus totally was like not about. So my husband helps me with that. He's like, all right, rein it in. This is not about legalism. This is not about checking off a box. Like this is about rest. Like what does that look like? And so we had a really good conversation about what that could look like for our family. And I realized that my husband has Saturday and Sunday off from work every weekend, but I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I have never given myself margins of rest for a whole day. I look at the weekend as the days that I can catch up on all the things in the week that I did not get done. And my husband's there to help me that day, so I can leave my family and go do all the things that I need to do so that I'm ready for the week. And I told my husband, I said, I don't get a day of rest. Like I've kind of looked at Sundays as, well, we go to church and then we have a whole segment of time in the middle of the day where I can do a bunch of stuff, and then we have family dinner. And I realized, I said, I don't want to do Sundays like that anymore. I want to have a day of rest where we take a nap and we read books or go on a walk or just continue worshiping or talking about what we learned about on Sunday at church. And so we've kind of been working through that as a family, trying to figure out what that looks like for us. But then, as I was reading through that book, I was thinking about this study for us and wanting to share some of those things with all of you. And then I found this book and I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. So that is what led to us doing this study. And I really like Priscilla Shirer. Some of you did the Armor of God study with us before with her. So I've learned a lot from her in the past. And I'm thankful for this study too. I've gone through it on my own, but I haven't listened to the videos that go along with it. So I'm looking forward to that this round. But it's a very introspective study. It asks more questions about what your life looks like and what this study could be like for you, like the things. So it's not technically like a really deep dive Bible study. It's more like learning the origins of Sabbath and then how we can apply it to our lives, and really looking more at ourselves and the things that we're working through. So so there's that piece, but that's pretty much the gist of how we've got here. And I know just from like our conversation, even before I started pushing the record button, that we all kind of feel the rush and the hustle and the bustle and everything that is our lives, and that there's not enough time and need margins of rest. So yeah, so I was thinking maybe if you've just kind of hopped on, maybe if you feel like it, you don't have to, but you can introduce yourself and how you heard about this and your ideas, like what pops into your mind when you think of the word Sabbath coming into this, if you want. And then towards the end, I will just wrap up. We'll take some prayer requests if you guys have them, and we'll pray, and that will be it. Tonight's kind of going to be a little bit of a shorter call. Also, side note, everything in this space is confidential. So I want it to be like a safe space where we can share our heart and the things that are important to us, the things we're struggling with, need encouragement with, praising the Lord for. But just know that most of the time I do record these calls and I post them on YouTube. I don't have a big YouTube following. I think I have like 30 people. So normally 5 people watch my videos, but every once in a while something will get caught in the algorithm and then like 1,000 people will see it. So if you end up sharing something on here that is very confidential, let me know, and I will not make it public. I'll just make it for us. So, all right, that's it. So take it away, ladies. I'm done.
So I'm just going to add that I think Sabbath being very different from margin, because I know in schooling my own kids all the way, there's been seasons I've done better than others where I would actually block in the calendar and I would just write margin, as in don't plan anything in there. And so that way when something got behind, I mean, hopefully it was just for that time, but it was also a way to not have as much stress if something didn't get done one day. There was margin, like you said, kind of how the weekends become that as kind of a catch-all. And then some of it is just margin to rest. But Sabbath having such a deeper meaning. So I'm excited to dive through this again at a different place now that we've all gone through watching church and doing all those things to really implement what a full Sabbath is, not just a catch-all day. So I like that you said that.
Absolutely.
I'll go. So my name's Lauren. I am originally from New Hampshire, but I just moved to Montana about a month ago. And I did the Bible study with Deanna and everyone. Gosh, I can't remember. That was feels like ages ago. But the very first one that I did was the other Bible study. I think the title's Armor of God. The other one that the same author did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, it was such a cool. I really, really liked her. She's like, that first Bible study was just awesome. So yeah, I'm really excited to dive into this one too. And when I think of Sabbath, I just think of like a day of rest. Same thing. That you just don't do anything, really spend the day with God and family and loved ones. So yeah,
that's great.
Simple, but that's what I think.
Okay, I can go. I got on here a little late. My name is Rachel. I first heard about this study. I missed the Armor of God one. I had heard about it near the end. And then I joined in the next one as much as I could. But speaking of busy lives with young kids, that definitely gets in the way. So I wasn't able to hop on for all of them. And then I was just excited when I saw what we were studying, especially it being about Sabbath. I have 2 young boys, ages 7 and 9, so 2nd and 4th grade. And then my husband's a firefighter, and this last year he had changed departments, so it's been a big, busy year for us. And then we kind of do all the things like sports and all of that. We live in the foothills in California, so we have been a little more open up here in our area, so we've got to still do some things in the last year, but also had a lot of that at home as well. So yeah, for me, Sabbath, I think in general, same, like a lot of it has, I don't know, meant to me like a day of rest, but also I think I've always known and been taught bits and pieces about what Sabbath is, as far as spending intentional time worshiping God and like that kind of time. But still, I've never really made it an intention and a part of our week. And yet I know it's something we need, and I can feel that within my soul and in our lives. So I'm excited to learn more about that and really dive into that and what that means for just our everyday lives or weekly lives.
Thank you. Yeah.
My name is Donna, and I am Deanna's mom. When I think of Sabbath, I think I am right there with you gals with a day of rest, but slash fun day. It's usually a day after church that my husband and I would go find something to do, and either Saturday or Sunday, but I never really set Sunday aside after church just to rest. I don't know. So I'm really looking forward to this, to kind of dive in deeper with what Christ really intended it for us to have for ourselves. My life takes a lot of turns. We homeschooled Deanna and the other kids for 16 years. And so I can really relate to you women that are taking that on. It's quite a commitment. And we used to have like family night where and it has to be intentional. And I'm thinking that even for Sabbath, it has to be intentional. And our family night was only once a week, but it was an evening that we blocked out or margined for just to be together and do games or movies or whatever we decided, which I know is different than Sabbath, but it was just one of those together times. But I'm really looking forward to this. I know life is different now. I take care of my father most weekends. And so it's a lot of online and listening to my husband give me the sermon over again after he goes to church later that night. But it can always be applied. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you, Dee, for doing it.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that, Mom. Like, as I was just praying before we started tonight, I was thinking about how, you know, a lot of what Jesus talked about with the Sabbath, like he would get in trouble. The Pharisees would hound him because he would do something on the Sabbath, like heal somebody and then offer to forgive their sins, which is like an act of salvation from God, which is like the highest form of like what worship can be, I guess, in a sense. And he would get hounded for it because the Pharisees were so legalistic about the rules that they had formed around Sabbath and what people had to do. And when I first started thinking about Sabbath, part of me was like, like that could be very legalistic. Like now that we have like forgiveness and grace through Christ, we don't have to follow all the rules in order to be saved. So is there a place in modern day Christianity for the practice of Sabbath? And I am kind of a rule follower. I'm a box checker. So I would easily get caught up, I think, in making it something that I have to do a certain way, or it has to look this way in order to, be something worth something to the Lord. And I've realized that that's not what it's about, that it's more about intentionality, like what you were saying, Mom, about setting aside that time. And because we're saved through grace and not anything that we ever do, it's not like us choosing to practice Sabbath is going to get us more saved. It's like maybe a more enriching relationship that we could have, like that save the salvation that we get, we're like surface level, and like depending on how much intentionality and time we have, like our relationship can grow super deep, or it could stay that surface level. And I feel like Sabbath can really like help the intentionality of growing, but again, it's not necessarily something that has to look a specific way in order to be right, maybe. But sorry, I'm like, now I'm going off on a tangent, but the
It definitely-
intentionality.
It's to bless us. It gives us what we need, you know, and sometimes, like you're saying, Dee, it's like we have so many responsibilities. Can we take a day off? You know, but really it's for us. It's a blessing for us. So yeah, I agree.
Hi guys. I totally resonate with what both of you are saying. I'm like over here taking notes because I'm such a nerd, but I'm Lindsay, and Deanna and I know each other from church. So I think the same way with the Sabbath. I always thought of it as very legalistic. I used to be an event planner at Baywood Greens, which is like a big wedding company around here. And I just recall a Jewish family getting married on a Saturday, and they were probably like farther removed from their religion than some of the older people that were invited to their wedding were. And because it was on Sabbath, there were people that came that refused to like get in the car. So they walked from the hotel to like, because of the legalism. And I'm like, but you're walking. Doesn't that take more energy than? So I have always, that's always stuck in my mind of like the idea of Sabbath being so legalistic that you would do that, you know? And so in recent years, I've come to, I'm sure you've all heard of Hygge, and I love Hygge so much that I've named my homeschool the Hygge House Homeschool. And Hygge is like the Danish practice of like being cozy and connection and like resting and peace and just like eating cozy foods and comfort and all of the fuzzy things and like lights and like the things that just make you feel at peace and restful. And sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, oh, well, Sabbath is kind of actually Hygge. And then I'm thinking, well, Hygge is really what Jesus wants with us. So really, he wants us to be cozy with him, and he wants the connection with him, and he wants us to feel at home with him, and he wants us to be comforted and feel at rest and peaceful with him. And that's always something that I've craved. And so I just like always suctioned to the idea of Hygge. So when Deanna said she was doing this study, I was like, oh, I need to do this for sure, because I love Priscilla Shirer, first of all, but then just the idea of like being intentional about planning rest days is something that I'm not very good at. So I'm just looking forward to learning from all of you.
Thank you for sharing all that. Did anyone else want to share before we take some prayer requests?
I'll just share real quick. I'm Deanna's Aunt Dee, and I am so delighted to take this study because I definitely need to mark out the time to rest. I work full time. My parents moved in with us in April of 2020, and my daughter lives up in Pennsylvania, about 25 or 30 minutes away, and I run up there a lot and take care of her dogs for her, and I'm just running. I'm always running. And I steal these little times. I love my devotion time with the Lord, my praise time, my music time, but I'm always stealing it, right? I'm always like, oh, but, you know, I get a downtime between a meeting while I'm waiting in my car for an appointment, and I'll have time with Jesus then, and I carry a devotional in my car as well. So I'm looking forward to this, because unlike all of you girls that don't want the legalistic part, I do. I need the discipline of carving that time out, not just for myself, but for my family, when I'm not like dashing in the door and dashing back out and running off to a meeting or whatever. So I'm so looking forward to this study. I love Priscilla Shirer. I first was introduced to her years ago with Fervent, and that book really was interesting for me. If you all have not read it, it's a wonderful, wonderful book. And I had been praying that way for many years. In fact, my husband used to say, "Who are you on the phone yelling at?" when I would be up in my room praying. And I would be like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you're out there having a fight with your sister? And I was like, no, I'm praying. I'm kicking Satan's butt, And so when I read that book, I was like, hey, I know exactly what this woman is talking about here. So anyway, if any of you ladies haven't read Fervent yet, I encourage you to read that as well. But so Deanna, thank you. Thank you, honey, for opening your heart and your mind to allow the Lord to just speak to you and put it right there for you. And you're able to connect the dots when you see the pieces and the clues, the little glimpses that he lays before you, when you're able to connect all of it. And then, of course, not only do you connect it and receive it for yourself, the gift, but then you turn around and you share it with all of us. So Deanna, I'm just so grateful. I love you so much. And I'm so grateful that you've taken this role of leadership. You're fabulous at it. It's such a beautiful gift of yours. And I'm just grateful to be here and meet these other beautiful ladies, and also to see your mama and your sister. I get to be with my West Coast sisters. It's fun. And to meet all these other young ladies. So I'm grateful. So I'm glad to be here. This is my very best friend in the whole wide world right here. Aunt Suzanne, who we call Aunt Sudie. Yeah, hit it, girl.
Hit it. Oh, you put me on the spot. That's not right. That's mean, isn't it, girl? Anyway, I'm Aunt Sudie. And I love you, Miss Deanna. You are a sweetheart, and you mean so much to me. And I am grateful. I've been waiting for this day since I don't even know how many months I've been waiting to start this Bible study. And to me, it didn't really matter what Bible study it was. If you were leading it, I was doing it. So it really could have been anything. So I can't say that, I was like, ooh, the Sabbath. I was just like, ooh, Deanna's leading it. Let's go. So for me, the Sabbath, this is going to be interesting because for me, I can't say that I practice it. Over the years, I try to do a little less on Sunday and stuff like that, but I don't really have the concept down. I don't know what Jesus really wants from me, so I need to pay attention to this study. I can remember over the years, in my doing a little less on Sundays, I can remember, the laundry's okay. I'm sure the laundry's okay. Or I'm sure I can run to Target for a minute, and I don't know. I'm not sure that that's what he has in mind, but I'm going to listen to all you beautiful ladies. And I also, like Aunt Dee Dee, love the fact that you're all from everywhere and young and older, and I just love it. And I learned so much from you, all of you actually. So I do know one thing, Miss Deanna, if you are reconstructing your Sundays for your Sabbath, please put something in there somewhere where we can do family dinners another day, because I would miss them if I don't get to come to family dinner.
Oh, we're still doing family dinner. That's okay. Part of Sabbath. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And I love you all. And I'm so excited and ready for this. Hi, Miss Donna. And where's Miss Lauren? Oh, there's a baby.
Well, now you have to go, Lauren. You have to introduce yourself.
Oh.
Waiting for a time when she wasn't screaming. So she's going to pull down the blind. So we're good. I'm Lauren. I'm Dee's little sister. I'm excited for the study as well. I was just excited that another one's starting up. I always learn so much. And for Sabbath, I think of the word rest, but I don't know, I see Sunday as like another bonus day to get all the stuff done, like you guys are talking about. And I always felt like if I went to church, then I created that space for God. And so I was filled up by being at church and being a part of the community. And I think I always felt, I've gotten enough rest for the week to make it through. So thinking about it in a different light of setting aside space and time and the concept of a whole day is really exciting, just to see how God can work. And then also what came to mind was The Chosen. I know like some of us on here have watched that show, and then when they celebrate Shabbat or
Sabbath, it was like a very serious, like the way they portrayed it, and a whole day set aside, like don't even mess with it, because you have to give that to God. And I was thinking about that as this study came up. So very, very different, I think, than what I'm used to for routine. But I would love to create more space, more intentional space, I think, for God, instead of like, oh, I have to pump for 30 minutes in the morning, so I am going to read my Bible during that time. And I love that time, but it's like a cutout time. And a whole day is just crazy. So to me, to like think everything you're doing to be that intentional. So instead of just like a 30 minutes in the morning or whatever. So yeah, that's my take on the Sabbath. All right. Yeah, great.
Thank you, Laura.
4:30 is a great time. It's a great time for us.
Hi, Raylan. I want you guys to know that at the end of the study, you will not have a formula for what Sabbath looks like. I'm kind of intermixing two ideas. So this one is more like we're going to be really getting to the heart of how we worship God and how much room we have in our hearts, along with all these other things in our life, for setting aside time to worship the Lord. And then the ruthless elimination of hurry. If you're a reader, I would totally suggest getting this book, because I'm going to be reading from sections of his chapter on the Sabbath. I learned so much from it. So I'm going to be kind of bringing that into this also, just to kind of like get, I don't know, a well-rounded idea of what this could look like, and so that we can individually work through this and come to a place where we can, decide what it looks like for us the more we learn about it. So that being said, does anybody have any prayer requests that they want to go out on the email that I'm going to send out with the recording for this week?
I have one. On Friday, my brother-in-law was riding his bike and he was hit by a car.
Oh,
and
God.
he is still not waking up yet. He had emergency surgery on his brain to relieve pressure, which was successful from a pressure standpoint, but as far as what happens next, like the span of possibility is really endless, from full miraculous recovery to not waking up and everything in between. So they have 3 little kids, a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. And my sister-in-law is pregnant with their 4th, due in like a month and a half, 2 months. So we're praying for complete healing and miracles and strength for their family throughout the process. His name is Mike. If you guys could please keep him in your prayers and pass him along to whoever you know that is a prayer warrior too.
You said he was on a bike and he got hit by a car?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh, we'll definitely be praying.
Thank you.
If you guys could be praying for me, I had a lumpectomy done on Friday for a spot that I'm not really super concerned about. I'm thinking that it's going to come back negative, but I'm still healing from it. And I'm supposed to be flying to California to see my mom and my sister and my grandpa in 2 days. And I've still got it's still healing, and June just has no chill. So flying with her, she's going to be on my lap. This is the last time that we can fly with her on my lap. And it was probably a bad decision to not buy her a seat, but it's too late now. So you guys could just keep me in your prayers for Thursday. We're flying on Thursday, and that everything comes back from this negative. Anything else anybody want to add? Okay. I'm going to close this then, all right?
Wait, I have a prayer request real quick. I said it, but we were on mute. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I have a prayer request for my nephew, Joshy. Well, God knows, what's happening, and I just that God would really keep him close and guide him, give him discernment. Right now, he's a young man, and he's going through some stuff. And he's a sweetheart, and he's a believer, and he loves God with all his heart, and he's just struggling a little bit. So you just keep him in your prayers.
Thank you, sweetie. Welcome. That's my son. Thank you.
Let's give it to the Lord. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this night. Oh, I thank you so much for this group already, Lord. I know that you have gone before us in everything that we're going to learn, everything that you're going to share. And so I just thank you so much for what you're already doing, working in our hearts to make room for more of you. And I pray that you would continue to mold us and shape us into people that share your light just in everything that they do. I pray that you would make us more and more like you, Jesus. I just lift up Mike. I pray, Lord, that you would touch him. I pray that you would miraculously heal him. I pray that his eyes would open, that he would just be completely how he was before and even then some. Lord, I just pray that you would hold his family close, Liz and the rest of their siblings, Lord, his wife, his children. Lord, I just pray that you would be near, that they would feel your comfort during this time. And I just pray for wisdom for the doctors and the nurses, all the staff that's taking care of him, Lord. I pray that you would take care of him and that you would bring his awareness back, that he would be completely healed. Lord, I just pray for Josh. I pray that you would be near to him. I pray that he would be hearing your voice, speaking to him. Holy Spirit, I pray that you would move in a mighty way in his life. Draw him close to you, give him wisdom and discernment as he's wrestling through these things, Lord. And I just pray for Thursday. I pray that you would protect June and I as we travel. I pray that you would just allow her to be calm, provide us with safety. And Lord, I just pray for the mask that was removed. I pray that it would completely be negative and that all of this would be done. Lord, I thank you so much for hearing every prayer that we utter to you. And I lift up this week as we move forward, learning and going through this study. I pray that you would be teaching us things every day as we sit down and we go through this. I pray that you would teach us new things, that you would be showing us new things that we never even knew about the Sabbath and why you've given it to us and why it's so important. I pray that you would bless this time, Lord, and the rest of this evening and this week. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to see you all. I'm so looking forward to these next couple weeks. So I hope you guys have a good rest of your week.
Thank you, Deanna. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, ladies. God bless you all.
Thanks, Deanna.